Coming up on CTV News, an update of the Boston bombing. Also, the 420 Civic Center Park shooting. And later, CTV anchor Keith Albertson gives us an inside look at a firefighter training course. All that and more, you're watching CTV News.
Hello and welcome to CTV on this Tuesday, April 23rd. I'm Carrie O'Connor, filling in for Lena Howland.
And I'm Keith Albertson, and we're joined by weather anchor Austin Harley. And you know what, Austin? I'm kind of sick of all the snow.
So am I, Keith. It is ridiculous, wouldn't you agree?
Yes, I'm definitely over it at this point.
Yeah, so far this has actually been our 10th snowiest April on average.
I believe it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, right? I think it's pretty safe to say that we are done with the snow now till next winter, though. The forecast looks dry over the next week. Temperatures will be cooler tonight and tomorrow, but we're going to be warming back to seasonal averages on Thursday. Outside the CTV studio right now, you can see that it is 34 degrees, but thanks to a wind from the southwest at 5 miles an hour, it feels more like 30 degrees right now. There's also partly cloudy skies. Temperatures will dip into the low 20s later tonight as the rest of the state continues to be cold as well. Let's take a look at current temperatures. You can see that here in Fort Collins, it's currently 34. It's 31 in Denver right now, and I don't know about you, but it feels like 2 in Vail. It's 41 in Grand Junction, and showers continue to fall across the high country. Warm weather begins to move in tomorrow in that snow's place. It will pull in from the northwest, bringing us slightly warmer temperatures. Let's take a look at tomorrow's highs. Tomorrow it'll be 49 here in Fort Collins, also 49 in Denver, 37 in Vail, and a balmy 60 in Grand Junction. Areas like Telluride, Alamosa, and Pueblo can expect some snow showers tomorrow, but we certainly won't be seeing anything up north. The real warm-up comes Thursday and this weekend. These warm days should be filled with plenty of sunshine. Let's take a look at the weekly outlook. Tomorrow, 49 and sunny, 61 and sunny on Thursday, warming to 64 on Friday, and then as the weekend rolls around, you're going to want to break out those board shorts and flip-flops because we're going to be seeing high 60s and low 70s over the weekend. 60s will continue into Monday. All of this warm weather will be melting the snowpack, which increases the danger for avalanches. Back at the desk, Carrie has an update on a recent avalanche. Carrie?
Thank you, Austin. The massive avalanche near Loveland Pass on Saturday afternoon was ranked as one of the deadliest avalanches in U.S. history involving skiers and snowboarders. According to the American Avalanche Association, this is the worst accident on record in the last 14 years. 5 experienced skiers were killed by this accident while backcountry skiing. They have been identified as Ian Lamphere, Rick Gockel, Chris Peters, Joe Tinlin, and Ryan Novak. The only survivor who was able to be rescued is Jerome Boulet, who was dug out of the snow.
And it's hard to believe it's been just a little over a week since the bombings that happened at the Boston Marathon. The surviving suspect, Johar Tsarnaev, was read his Miranda rights yesterday in the hospital, 2 days after being taken into custody. The suspect is recovering from multiple gunshot wounds after the standoff that resulted in his capture Friday night. He is being charged with using and conspiring to use a weapon of mass destruction against persons and property, and is also likely to face state charges in connection with the death of an MIT police officer.
He will not be treated as an enemy combatant. We will prosecute this terrorist through our civilian system of justice. Under U.S. law, the United States citizens cannot be tried in military commissions. And it is important to remember that since 9/11, we have used the federal court system to convict and incarcerate hundreds of terrorists.
Due to an injury to Tsarnaev's tongue from the standoff, he remains unable to talk, but has been answering questions by writing and nodding his head. He told investigators that he has not been in contact with terrorists overseas, but that he and his brother were motivated by religion and learned how to make bombs from the internet.
And despite the snow that fell Monday afternoon, about a dozen runners turned out for the Boston Strong Run that was held here in Fort Collins in order to show support for the victims of last week's attack. The run was organized by the Fort Collins running community as a part of a social media campaign to promote solidarity and to offer support to Boston. And in more remembrance, CSU students gathered for a vigil at the admin building on the Oval to honor victims of the Boston Marathon attacks last week. Candles and American flags were held during this chance to spread positivity throughout the CSU community in a time of despair. The event was quickly put together by CSU junior David Ferguson, and despite the blizzard conditions, people still came out to show their support and respect for everyone who was affected in Boston.
Just one of those things that you stay up at night and think about and read the news and, you know, just maybe get more involved than you should to a certain extent, but just get tired of feeling like, oh, just another tragedy, just another thing that we're far away from that we can't be there helping or making a direct impact.
The shooting that ended the 420 celebration at Civic Center Park over the weekend brought unexpected fear to a usually lighthearted occasion. The main suspect of the shooting is still at large. The suspect is being described as an African-American male, 6 feet tall, 180 pounds, wearing a gray hoodie, black slacks, and a blue Carolina baseball cap. CTV reporter Wayne Stafford gives a first-hand account of the shooting.
Reports of shots fired, people running, cars responding, quick attack, sir.
With mass shootings and bombings still a fresh memory, fear was on the faces of thousands.
The smoke out here at Civic Center Park ended tragically. As I was on the scene, gunshots were heard and 2 victims were taken to the hospital.
A total of 3 people and a dog were non-fatally shot east of the amphitheater around 5 p.m.
I hear pop, 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 pop. And I look to the right of me and I just see people tumbling down the hills and running.
That was scary, man. And people were ducking and watching them, and I was running and sprinting, and everybody else was. And I'm thinking we'd be able to stand up and be alive.
As 80,000 people rushed out of the park, 22-year-old Sean Eash is sitting on the curb with 3 broken ribs, contemplating how a casual encounter with a stranger could end so violently.
I was just standing there talking to him, and I got hit from behind in the jaw. And I went to turn around to see who hit me, and I lost my footing, slipped, and fell. I got kicked in the ribs a couple times. And as I was getting up, shots were fired, and the guy next to me was on the ground.
The victim, whose name has not yet been identified, was shot twice in the leg. Like others on this day, complete strangers helped their fellow man in need.
First reaction, I took my shirt off, tied it around his leg, and we put pressure on his leg, and we stayed there until the paramedics came.
All I could do was hold on to his dog for him because he was worried about his dog. So I held on to his dog for him. He was held right there by him.
This is currently the only photo of the suspect, and Denver police are asking the public to help find him.
Generally in a situation where you have shots fired, people tend to run, we understand that, but now please come back and give us any information or any pictures that you might have to assist us with our investigation.
As for the cause of the shooting, Ish points out the victim had Denver North Side Mafia gang tattoos on his eyebrows, a possible gang-related incident fueled by a lack of security.
There were so many people there that was bound for some kind of confrontation.
Gangs are dangerous, you know, and if you let gang members into your events, that's what's going to happen.
This year's 420 celebration was cut short. We can only hope the safety at next year's event isn't so hazy.
The reservation of Civic Center Park for the 420 event on Sunday was canceled, and the investigation is still ongoing.
The 420 celebration at Civic Center Park wasn't all that bad, and CTV reporter Wayne Stafford reports on the highlights of this event and the concerned citizens at its edge.
Marijuana, weed, pot, whatever you call it, it was everywhere in downtown Denver. The crowd grew to record numbers as time ticked closer and closer to 420.
Civic Center Park is packed as the 420 celebration is well underway.
But not everyone was having fun. Some were even concerned.
My concern is I'm looking at the ages of the people that are here, and I see a lot of kids. I see a lot of kids under the age of 21.
Enforcing the age restriction is a problem, but Smart Colorado's main focus is Amendment 64.
We want to implement 64 in a really thoughtful way, and we are very concerned about the mass commercialization that is going to come into our state.
With any new beginnings come new possibilities and new problems. We can only hope the future of Colorado's weed culture is a bright one.
And the implications of Amendment 64 are still being reviewed and finalized.
After the break, I'll be giving you an inside look at a firefighter training course.
And later, the CSU Engineering Showcase. Stick around.
Shelters are the best places to find a new pet.
What a perfectly beautiful little lady.
That's where you'll discover healthy, loyal, and loving animals.
Cute little rascal.
Eager to become a part of your family. A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet.
Oh, ladies first.
Be that person. Adopt.
This is living. Hey, kid.
To find out more, visit theshelterpetproject.org.
The City Council is expected to review a proposal Tuesday night that would allow the city to contribute $53 million towards the revitalization of the Foothills Mall. Construction of the 700,000 square foot mall is expected to cost about $300 million and could start as early as June pending city approval.
And an empty department store in the Foothills Mall opened its doors Thursday. It was the location of a firefighter training exercise for search and rescue. Firefighter trainees from the Front Range Fire Consortium took over part of the Foothills Mall to simulate a large area emergency search.
To make it a worst case scenario for us, they put blackout masks over our SCBA masks, and then they have put victims out in the middle of these large areas for us to find and then rescue out where we came back in.
But rescuing victims while wearing blackout masks is no easy task.
Yeah, it's totally different when you lose the most important sense you're used to, which is your sense of sight. You kind of lose track of everything. Your orientation goes, and it's definitely something you have to get used to, having no sense of sight and just relying on your sense of feel to determine where you are.
And that experience is invaluable for these trainees.
It's nice to have business people here in the community that allow us, or have allowed us to conduct searches in this large area.
A lot of that is thanks to the mall's general manager, who lets the firefighters train there whenever they need to.
They do get to learn about the property and be familiar with it. So, you know, if you ever do find yourself in that situation with a fire or an emergency response, again, they're comfortable on property, they understand the layout, they've had an opportunity to be in a larger format building like you see with the former department store here. And so, again, it's just a different opportunity for increasing that education, and that's good for all of us.
Foster just looks at it as a way to help others.
It's a great opportunity to help people that are quite possibly experiencing the worst day of their life.
The 16 trainees are expected to graduate in June, and after that they will be assigned to their respective departments to fight the next big fire. And the last big fire, the High Park fire, is impacting the drinking water that people rely on in Fort Collins. Scientists have been noticing increased amounts of chemicals like aluminum in the Poudre River since the High Park fire. The chemicals affect the smell and taste of water and may lead to health problems.
The High Park is a small portion of the watershed. There's millions of acres that are still ripe to burn, and I think the likelihood of another fire in the watershed is good. We address it through continuing to collect baseline data at those locations in hopes, and then focus on the lessons that we can learn from this fire to hopefully apply them if we do experience another fire.
1 year of work came down to one final presentation for senior engineers last Friday. CSU hosted the annual Engineering Day Senior Design Showcase, which featured a total of 73 final projects. CTV reporter Lena Howland was there to meet the engineers behind the projects.
Seniors spend the entire year working on a specific project for either a company or part of the school, or there's even an on-campus stadium project. And so they're just doing it all year, and this is kind of their big day, and it's where they get to show off everything, get judged, and then we pick some winners.
73 final projects were presented in the Engineering Day Senior Design Showcase.
A lot of these projects are going to be used in actual factories or in actual manufacturing throughout, the nation, essentially.
And the topics came from all over the spectrum. To enrich the community, the Stormwater and Transportation Departments of Fort Collins Utilities came to us wanting to retrofit a street in Fort Collins to more cohesively manage stormwater runoff and traffic. So we worked with them and we developed 3 concept designs to get their feedback on the different features and how effective they were. And then we came up with a final design that was really successful. To foster creativity.
His name is Larry, and Larry stands for Little Autonomous Retrieval Robot. Why? Why? Because he can. So it's kind of a cute name, but what he does is he plays fetch like a dog. So he'll bring you the ball, ask you if you'd like to play. You say yes, he'll drop the ball, and we'll go fetch it when you throw it.
And to encourage learning.
It's a musculoskeletal model of the canine that is anatomically representative of the dog, allows for the student to physically move it, flex and extend it, and simulates 3 of the most common injuries associated in canines.
In Fort Collins, I'm Lena Howland reporting for CTV News.
Many of these projects were sponsored by specific companies like Cummins, John Deere, and EcoCar. And coming up on CTV, Ryan Green has your local sports update.
Stay tuned.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Well, college basketball season is over, but the celebration for this year's men's team still continues. This Friday, CSU fans have one last chance to celebrate the Rams' record-breaking season in which they finished second in the Mountain West Conference. The banquet will honor the 5 senior starters that helped transform this year's season into a must-see event. Tickets go for $30 each and are available online. And for the rest of your sports news, we'll send it over to sports anchor Ryan Green. Ryan?
Thanks, Keith. The Rams football team wrapped up their spring practice sessions with their annual spring game on Saturday. The green team beat the gold team 14-6. Wasn't the most entertaining game, but it was sure a heck of a lot better than last year's. And don't just take my word for it.
Things we need to work on. We kept it pretty vanilla. Knew there'd probably be about 9 or 10 guys from Boulder sitting up there, so we weren't going to show too much. And yet at the same time, I think we saw some guys out there competing, and I was excited about that.
Coach Mack let assistant coaches coach the 2 squads for the game while he looked on with a bunch of alumni like former NFL linebacker Joey Porter. He was there talking football with Coach Mack for most of practice, as well as giving advice to some of the players, especially Shaq Barrett. Former Ram and current Denver Broncos tight end Joel Dreesen was also at the game. Coach Mack stressed the importance of the former players.
I can't say enough, and with those guys being around, I think that helps our guys understand what it is to be a Ram and the legacy that they carry. So, that part with the festivities and the great weather, I just think it was a super day.
With the spring practice sessions now over, Coach Mack stressed to the players to be aware of their actions and to take care of their schoolwork. The team will reconvene this summer, and those practices will be the first time all of the new recruits will be able to join the team as well. Exciting time for Rams football, and that is the first time in a long time we can say that. All right, let's move on to the Denver Nuggets, who are playing their second game of the series against the Golden State Warriors, and 10 minutes. The Nuggets barely squeaked by their first game against the Warriors. The whole game felt like the Nuggets were on the verge of breaking away from the Warriors like they had done to so many teams during the season, but the Warriors kept hanging around, and it took a last-second miracle layup by veteran Andre Miller to propel the Nuggets to a 2-point win. However, the Nuggets should have an easier go from here on out in the series now that David Lee, one of the Warriors' best players, is out for the rest of the series with a leg injury he had during the game. Good news for the Nuggets, but we hope Lee has a fast recovery. And speaking of injuries, guys, Kenneth Faried is expected to play tonight.
Oh, that's good because he's my favorite and he's always so consistent.
Who doesn't like the Manimal?
Exactly. Definitely good to see him back. So, who do you like winning it all?
Oh, gosh. I mean, I watched the Miami Heat. I don't see how anyone can beat that team. I love the Nuggets. I think they're going to go on a run right now, but really I think it's just Miami's championship to lose. Yeah. And they've looked great. Who do you like coming out of the West to lose to the Miami Heat? Oh, to lose. The Spurs, and it seems like the Spurs and the Nuggets kind of have that going, and so I don't know. That would be a 7-game series if it's the Spurs and the Nuggets, but that's it. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's all the time we have for you tonight.
Yeah. For more, check out CTV or our Facebook page or our website.
Have a great night, and we'll see you next time.